Hey, Billy King, former Nets GM, and obviously knows some of the how some of these complex deals and announcements and free agent pursuits obviously go. Billy, it's Tiki and Tierney. How you been, buddy? What's happening?
Doing great, guys. How are you?
We're doing well. A broad snapshot, general overview from your part, and there's a million ways you can answer this. The new direction of the NBA, all right, the surge in cap and all that stuff that it entails, the player movement, it's good for the NBA or it's bad for the NBA?
Well, I think it's good in the sense that it shows that the game is healthy. It's the owners are going to split the revenues with the players, and this is where it came. I know the league was trying to get it where they smooth the money in rather than have a spike, but I think the players wanted to get there now for the next 2 years. It'll spike, and then after that, it'll level out and be at a level playing field. But I know people are looking at these salaries and they're blown away by them. But I think it's the health of the league and the revenues. It shows the revenues that the league has earned.
Yeah, and it's interesting also when you look at the money and how it's affecting where guys are going. You're also creating teams that seem unbeatable. Right? Is that going to affect how teams either choose to go forward next year or the following year, or they just kind of sell out and say, look, we got to just wait for this to play out in Golden State because we're not going to be able to compete?
Well, I think there's always been teams put on paper that people say aren't when LeBron and those guys together, I think they said they're going to win 3, 4, 5 championships, and they won 2, but they didn't run the table. And as good as Golden State on paper is going to be, and they are going to be fun to watch, you still got to play the game. And so I think it's easy to sit here and say give them the next 4 or 5 championships, but you never know when the basketball gods or the sports gods step in and say, okay, we're going to give you some things you can't handle and see if you can overcome some maybe injuries or bad breaks, and that's what happens in sports.
Mm-hmm. Billy, one thing I said to Tiki early as we started the show today, and talking to Billy King, former Nets GM, and has been around the league for a long time, is that, we tend to romanticize, previous generations. And what I mean by that is, Kareem didn't play for one team. Earl Monroe didn't play for one team. Bernard King didn't play for one team. Ray Allen and Vince Carter more recently, they played for a couple. I mean, it just seems like the scope of criticism is white hot now, and which is fine, but people conveniently leave out important details of what transpired before this generation.
Well, I think it's because of one. I think social media now, everything that happens is instantaneously. So everybody gets their news and then they react. But you're right, and I think that the thing that I don't understand why people are so mad at Kevin Durant for leaving Golden City is that that's his right. That's why he became a free agent, to be able to say, okay, where do I want to live for the rest of my career? Where do I want to play? And he chose that. I think if anybody's in work in America like you guys right now, if somebody called you guys and said, hey, you can go work here and make this much money and have a this kind of shift, and it's good to you guys, you would leave.
Yeah.
And I think anybody would if they're in an environment where they can make the same amount of money but be able to choose the job they want or the city they want to live in. That's what America's all about.
Bill, hold on, Bill. You're insulting us here, Billy. I mean, Tiki and I would come in here and work for free. I mean, come on. Do you not know our moral fiber? Come on, Billy.
Yeah, but I think also everybody likes the storybook.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant in Oklahoma City, and the thing that I look at it and said that I think he handled his meetings and he made a quick decision. It wasn't going to wait a long time, and I think the thing that's different in this generation is players tend to get to know each other as friends off the court a lot more than before. I think there was a lot more competitive nature, and guys would. There's no way a Celtic would go play for a Laker, But I think nowadays the players are much more friendly off the court in the NBA, and relationships are developed when USA Basketball. All these guys played together in Turkey in the World Championships, some years back, and then I'm sure they stay in contact. So. Relationships are developed off the court, and as GMs or owners of teams, you may not know those relationships, how close they are, until something like this happens.
Well, speaking of a busted relationship, KD's now gone. Russell Westbrook is still there. What does Sam Presti need to do with him? Talk of trade. We're pretty certain he's not coming back next year. They want to get some value?
Well, I think if you know he's not going to come back, you got to move him. And only Sam can gauge that. And I think you start the season and let it play out. You got till February if you do want to trade him. But I think you don't want to sit there and lose both those guys and get nothing back for them. So I think you've got to explore it, but you want to explore it quietly. The hard thing is I don't know how much value you can get, and you almost got to wait for some of these guys to sign these contracts to be eligible to be traded, which I think is 3 months or after December 15th. So you got to wait, and because some of these guys may go to a place and not like their teams, but not like them that have moved around. So I think you have to explore it, and if you do, you probably want to just get as many young players and picks and sort of rebuild through that way.
We're talking to Billy King, former Nets GM. Billy, take us inside. I know you haven't had, you've had some, I guess you have to an extent. I mean, Westbrook's obviously a little different. He's a top 5 or top 6 player, but take us inside the room of a team where, and I'll equate it basically maybe to a broken relationship or a broken marriage, where in your heart you want to save it, and it's hard to reconcile that it's over. And I would think that probably applies on some level to somebody like Westbrook, where you drafted him, you developed him, he's your spouse, so to speak, and at least specific to sport. But you got to be real, and you got to look in the mirror. So I would think that you'll have a few different opinions on what's real and what's not, and that could probably get pretty messy and blur and distort the lines of reality, I would think, right?
Well, I was a GM of the Sixers, and we had Allen Iverson, and the time came to move him. And as much as I wanted to save it and for the fans, I knew it was time. And we moved him and got as much as we could. I knew that it was time to move him.
Yeah, but he was a little bit of he's a different player, diminished skill, and I know you guys thought about dealing with Larry Brown, but I forget exactly how old AI was, but he was no longer a top 5 player. But when he left, I mean, he was clearly on the down slope, not like Kevin Durant or Westbrook, right?
Yeah, I mean, he was, but he had. I think they went to Denver and made the Western Conference Finals. But you're right, he was not nearly at the level they are. But it happens, and if you look at Chris Bosh when he left Toronto, probably should have maybe tried to move him before letting him just walk. LeBron, you got to run the course and see if you can keep him. But it happens in sports.
One of the teams, that's interesting in free agency as well as just re-signing guys or a guy, are the Mavs. They get Harrison Barnes, big contract. Obviously, I don't know if Golden State could have matched it if they didn't get KD. Then Dirk is obviously re-signed just a little bit ago. Bogut looks like he's going to get traded there. Darren Williams, his game has fallen off a little bit, but he's still Darren Williams. I mean, you look at the Western Conference teams, who can compete with Golden State right now?
Well, I think San Antonio will give them a good shot. But right now on paper, it's going to be tough to beat because those 4 guys, the thing about it is they all fit together because they can score, they can pass, and they can play. But, it's almost a natural fit for Kevin to go there. So that's what's going to make it tough. But as I said before, you still got to play the games. I mean, they had the record this year, most wins, and did win the championship because they had to play the games. And so right now on paper, they're you can't beat them. But it's going to be interesting come next June to see if they can win it.
Bill, final thing on the Eastern Conference here. Obviously, I think the Garden's going to be popping next year if guys stay healthy. Knicks obviously took a lot of risks here, and because it's New York, good, bad, or indifferent, you get a lot of hype and maybe unnecessary criticism. That's just the way it goes, and you know that from your days with the Nets. But I think the team that has quietly had the best offseason aside from the Warriors is probably the Pacers.
Yeah, you're so right. They've sort of been under the radar in how they built the team. I think Larry has done a great job there, and if you getting Thaddeus Young gives them an athletic 4 that can match up and they can run, be athletic, but still, and Paul George now be another year off the injury. I think he'll be even better. Getting Teague. So I think they quietly reshaped their team, and they'll have enough weapons, I think, to compete against LeBron and them. But at the end of the day, if you have the best player, when I think that's LeBron, it's tough to beat. But I do think Indiana has quietly done the best job anybody in the offseason of retooling their team without really having to do a big splashy, signing free agents. Al Jefferson's about the only one, but they quietly did some trades to improve their team.
Yes, some good work there. Billy, nice chat. We'll talk to you soon. Appreciate the insight from the front office stuff. Thank you.
You're welcome, guys. Take care.
All right, here he is, Billy King.